Hello, everyone, and welcome along to this special discussion that's part of the Behind the Curtain series hosted by the Grapple Group, a series that gives you the chance to learn more about the inner workings of the wrestling business. Of course, in doing so, we're going to be exposing some taboos, some things that aren't normally discussed by insiders of the wrestling business. So if this isn't for you, then now is the time to go elsewhere. I'm Dave Bradshaw, and in the next half hour, with the help of this esteemed panel here, we're going to be talking about one of the most controversial storylines in the recent history of British wrestling. A storyline that involved a 7-minute video message, supposedly written by Doug Williams and delivered by Daily Star journalist Patrick Lennon, during which Williams accused or made accusations about a conspiracy involving some of the world's biggest wrestling companies. Now, that entire 7-minute video is available on the FWA YouTube channel now, but for the first time, let's have a look at how the live crowd in Wolverhampton reacted to it on the night. As you can hear from that footage, large parts of the crowd in Wolverhampton had a hugely negative reaction to that video, and of course that sparked intense debate among some backstage about whether the video should be cut short to appease those fans or what should go on. Now, we've got a couple of members of the FWA's backstage team here with us today, so I'm hoping we can get a bit more insight into what was going on during the playing of that video. I also want to try and address three other questions really today. First of all, is there any place for a storyline this complex in a professional wrestling show? Secondly, to what extent, if any, did this storyline blur the line between fact and fiction? And thirdly, in an age where everyone knows that professional wrestling matches aren't real in the sense that people used to believe they are, should promoters be trying to pull the wool over fans' eyes in a different way? Should they be trying to find new and creative ways to work the fans? Or should we embrace the fact that everyone knows that wrestling is a work and try and get the fans to enjoy it in the same way they might enjoy an action movie? We only have half an hour, so let's get to it. I want to introduce our panel today. First of all, on my right, a young lady who during her 8 years in the business has wrestled extensively on both sides of the Atlantic, and of course during that time has developed a reputation as one of Europe's finest female talents. She is Coventry's loudest, Jetta. Also joining me, a former 2-time British amateur wrestling champion who went on and made the jump into professional wrestling and became an FWA British heavyweight champion. He's now one of the most respected pro wrestling trainers in the UK. He is Justin Richards. Next to Justin, we have a man who's an entrepreneur, I think it's fair to say, whose bold vision lit the fuse for the FWA's rebirth in 2009, and since then he's worked tirelessly so that promotion can go on to lead what we hope will be a British wrestling renaissance. He is the FWA Managing Director, Tony Simpson. And finally, on my extreme right, a man whose creativity and willingness to take risks has made him a pioneer in the truest sense of the word in the past decade here in British wrestling. He's a very successful promoter, trainer, radio presenter and author. He is also a former 2-time British heavyweight champion in the FWA and the current FWA head of product content. He is the Ascension, Alex Shane. Welcome one and all. Now, we've only got about half an hour to go through all the things we were going to talk about. Before we get on to the questions I just mentioned, I do want to bring up, though, something that's happened in just the past 24 hours, long after this talk was originally scheduled for today. Now, just in that time, WWE on their homepage have launched a campaign called Stand Up for WWE. They're claiming it's a chance for fans to respond and defend the company in the face of what they see as a barrage of attacks from outside forces. And listening to what the crux of this campaign is, Alex, it strikes me that it's remarkably similar to what's been claimed in this video from Patrick Lennon and more broadly in the agenda resistance storyline. Now, given that last time I spoke to you for the Behind the Curtain series, something very similar, we were talking about things that might happen in a storyline, and then it actually came to fruition between filming the first and second parts of that interview. I'm starting to wonder now, frankly, is there something you're not telling us about this storyline?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel today is the day when certain things need to be addressed, and we do need to. There's a reason that this storyline has blurred the line. I told people quite close to me that it was based on information that has come to me and multiple people in pro wrestling. But I feel that for us to deal with this, it needs more time, and it could end up. We've only got 30 minutes, and I don't want to consume the entire 30 minutes with this, so it's probably best if we begin with what we originally set to speak about today, and if we can allocate 5 or 10 minutes at the end for that, then I'll tell you the truth about everything. But yeah, it is right now. When we did this, we said it was the biggest storyline in wrestling history, and I'm not a person who says, if I say I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, I feel my reputation is on the line. And for us to say that, and for Doug Williams to go along with that, and for Patrick Lennon to say this is the biggest storyline in wrestling history, we knew what we were talking about. And this is, what you're seeing is big, but it needs a bit of time. So I think obviously let's talk about what we originally planned, and we'll get to that at the end.
I think actually we'll probably come on to it naturally as we go along, but let's, as you say, let's rewind and go back to that night in Wolverhampton. I wanted to bring in Tony here, Tony Simpson, the managing director of the FWA, a man, as I said, who was standing backstage while that 7-minute video was being played. And it was only 2 or 3 minutes in that large parts of the crowd started jeering it heavily. What was going through your mind during those few minutes?
In those few minutes, I've said to Alex since, they were the most uncomfortable minutes of my life. Standing there, I had a conflicting view. I had, I trust Alex's judgment, 100%. And the storylines that we're going with, I give Alex full control over the product content, because I'm not qualified to say what's right, what's wrong, and I feel Alex is. But then the conflict is that I was sitting there. The other thing I'm supposed to be trying to do is trying to give those fans a product that they can enjoy, that entertains them, that allows them to really get into it. But I think that may have gone slightly too far. And you heard from the video we played earlier that the reaction from the fans was very negative. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, do I stop the video, or do I carry on with the video, trusting that I do trust Alex? And, I did make the decision to leave it on and leave it rolling. But it was a very uncomfortable 7 minutes. Well, not 7 minutes, 5 minutes, because 2 minutes in, they were happy with it. And then it did all turn, quite ugly, I think.
Thanks for that, Tony. Now, Alex, I want to come back to you, because obviously, as Tony says, you were the creative mastermind behind that video, I guess. So can you just explain and set out for people who maybe haven't seen it what the intention of it was, and well, if you do stand by it, why you stand by it?
Yeah, I stand by it more now than I'd tell you the reasons I stand by it. The intention of the video was, this is our main storyline for the rest of the year, and to do it in that sense, we're not trying to attract the conspiracy market. We're not trying to attract the conspiracy market. The conspiracy market is no longer a market. Everyday people on the street are reading the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. This stuff that I was talking about when I first become friends with Tony, stuff that I was into now, he'll see stuff in the newspaper and say, man, this is stuff you told me, right? But I don't want to tap into that market. What I want to do is, what I've realised is blurring the line between what's really going on in the world of wrestling and what's happening as an FWA storyline is something I thought that's what we need to do. We do need to blur the line, but as I'll talk to you later, we've blurred the line on something that's very real. So I don't really want to talk about the content. I want to talk about where I stand on it.
If you'd like to purchase any of the DVDs featured in this show, go to www.fwauk.com.
This is the resistance, and we need your help.